Moving on to our next castaway, we have Dakota 21, who is also a student. So, what are your thoughts on Dakota?
Well, Dakota is a very he is half Hispanic. So he is half Mexican, I believe, or Spanish, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, he is from Central America, and
Oh, wait, is
yeah,
he?
he's from
Oh,
Central
I
America.
thought he was from the states. Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
I mean, yeah, from Central, but I mean, he's from Central America, but he's from the states. And yeah, he speaks Spanish, by the way, and he is very in touch with his Hispanic heritage. So I think that would come into play for him well, given that there are Latino players like Andres. And it's gonna be very interesting to see because I've seen him play on some American orgs, and he is a very charming, lovable player. So it's gonna be a challenge, I think, for him to gauge and make people like him. But I mean, his name itself is so memorable, like Dakota. So it's I think in a sense it's gonna have a presence.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I looking at his notes or the stuff that he filled out. I mean, he wanted to detail for a couple of the stuff, especially strengths and weaknesses. You know, he's an outspoken leader type. You know, he's watched Survivor. He's been playing orgs since 2014, winning quite a few of them and placing in the top 3 of 5 for a number of those orgs. I mean, you know, as far as people answering truthfully on these forums, if that portion's truthful, then the rest of it probably is truthful too. I mean, he probably goes in and just dominates these games. It says that his greatest strengths are his social skills, and he's determined. But as far as his weaknesses, he's too trusting and loyal. Um, so that should be interesting. I mean, we saw in our last season of Zoomvivor some pretty more trying to think of how to word what I'm trying to say. Actually, ignore what I was just about to say. I feel like the people generally that were going to be loyal in our last season of Zoomvivor were loyal up to a certain point. I mean, I
Definitely.
ultimately think about Rain's group of people until Garrett and Gage tried to slay her, but I mean, clearly that didn't work out for them. So I mean, hopefully, he can find a good group, and if he can find a good group that will stay loyal, maybe he will go far and once again reach the top 5 or even maybe win it all.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I mean, he is. I mean, from his interview, we've had an interview with Dakota, and he's very expressive, to put it lightly. That's I think expressive is an understatement for Dakota because he's very. I mean, he gets his emotions across. You definitely would feel him, and like it would feel like talking to him. It would feel like you're a part of his life. So it's you get those kinds of vibes from him that he's very like inclusive in terms of talking to people. So I think that will come into handy, I think. But in terms of him being too trusting and loyal, I mean, like you said, everyone's out for themselves in a game such as Survivor. So I think he will be loyal and trusting up to a certain point. I think everyone will be that way. And yeah, it just would depend on the circumstance of the game.
yeah, and then one last thing with him too, for someone who is too trusting and too loyal, he rated himself pretty high on the scale. He gave himself a 7 out of 10. You kind of think that, or at least in my mind, someone who leans more to the villainous side wouldn't be as trusting and as loyal. They would be a little bit more cutthroat. So that's another one of those things. I mean, we see them in all the forms or in all the interviews at one point or another. But I feel like that's a little contradictory. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's him learning from his past experience, probably, that he needs to trust players up to a certain point only, or give a pinch of salt to everything people say. Um, it's a very interesting thing to see Dakota more on the villainous side, given him being a very endearing guy. So yeah, very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I actually forgot there was because I'm going through my notes right here on the next page. There were two other things. He plans to play this game, more in a more sneaky fashion, and then he also goes to say, on why he should be on Zoomvivor, that he's someone this game has never seen before, and it's always interesting when someone makes a statement like that. I mean,
Yeah,
because like I feel like in the reality of it, when we're asked that question in any interview for any org, we kind of bullshit an answer. Let's be
yeah.
real, because I think there's thousands of people that apply for these games. Archetypes are bound to cross. So
Hmm.
I mean, who knows? Maybe he will be the first of that type for Zoomvivor, and he'll give us some good entertainment.
Probably, if I'm gonna base it off of his form, he probably would be a likable villain, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely.
um, but I don't know. I mean, yeah, we could. I mean, everything in their forms, I'm taking with a pinch of salt. I'm taking it lightly because, like you said, like there's always an element of bullshit and lifting yourself up to get your name on top of the list of the cast. But yeah, we're expecting good things from Dakota, not only game wise, but I think he's gonna be very good delivering confessionals, being very social, very expressive.